Have you ever just clicked with someone and you can't really explain why? It feels like magic, right? Like pure chemistry. But what if I told you it's less about some mysterious magic and more about a fundamental human process we can actually understand? So let's break it down. I mean, what if that spark, that immediate connection you feel with a new friend or a potential partner, what if it wasn't just some random lightning strike? What if you could actually decode it? Well, the crazy thing is, social psychologists have been doing exactly that for decades.
And what they've found is, honestly, it's surprisingly simple. They've managed to boil down this incredibly complex human experience into a really powerful two-part model. And it doesn't just explain romance, it explains a huge range of our connections, from friendships to professional relationships.
All right, so let's get right into this model. At its heart, the science of attraction really is like a straightforward equation. But before we get to the math, we need to be on the same page about what we're even talking about. What is attraction? Okay, so this gets us way past just vague ideas like, oh, I like them. Scientifically, attraction is an immediate, positive gut reaction to someone. It can be a feeling, or it can be an action, like leaning in when they talk. It's basically the engine that makes you want to get to know someone better. So here's the absolute core of it all. That positive response we feel, it's driven by two things we figure out about another person almost instantly: their capacity and their willingness. I want you to think of it like a locked treasure chest. Capacity is all the amazing treasure inside. Their humor, their intelligence, their kindness. But willingness, that's the key. And without the key, that treasure is totally inaccessible. You need both. So let's start with that treasure. What exactly is capacity? What goes into our assessment of whether someone has the goods? It's not just one thing. It's a whole collection of traits and resources that we personally find valuable. Capacity is this whole mix of things. It's how attractive we find someone, sure, but it's also their social skills, their creativity, if they share our values. Deep down, our brain is asking a really simple question. Could this person help me meet my goals? And goals is super broad. It could be the goal of finding a life partner, or a loyal friend, or even just a fun person to hang out with on a Friday night. Now, let's talk about a big one: physical attractiveness. Our brains use this as a massive shortcut. A famous study back in 1972 discovered what we now call the halo effect. It's this unconscious bias where we just assume that good-looking people also have a bunch of other good qualities, that they're smarter, kinder, more successful, the whole package. And this isn't just some fuzzy psychological idea. It is literally wired into our biology. Brain scans show that when you look at a face you find attractive, it lights up the exact same reward centers in your brain that get activated by things like delicious food or finding money. Our brain sees beauty and literally thinks reward. It's a powerful signal of high capacity. But, and this is so important, remember, capacity is only half the story. Having all the treasure in the world doesn't mean a thing if the chest is locked up tight. You need the key. And that key is willingness. So how do we show someone that our treasure is actually available? Well, one of the most powerful psychological forces on the planet is at play here: reciprocity. It is so simple, but it is incredibly effective. We are just hardwired to like people who we think like us. When someone shows genuine interest, they smile at you, they ask you questions, they actually listen, it's a massive flashing sign of their willingness to connect. Another huge way we signal willingness is by opening up a little bit, by sharing something about yourself, and I mean, appropriately. You're not dumping your entire life story in 5 minutes. You're not just giving information, you're offering a piece of trust. You're showing you want to build a real bond, which then makes them feel safe enough to share back. It creates this amazing loop of getting closer. And this is why that old saying, familiarity breeds contempt, is often just wrong. Research shows that the more we actually interact with someone, the more we tend to like them. And why is that? Because every single conversation, every little interaction is a fresh chance to show them that you're willing, that you're responsive, and that you're a safe person to connect with. Okay, so we've got capacity, the treasure, and willingness, the key. Now, how do these two things actually work together when we're out in the real world making choices? This brings us to something fascinating called the matching hypothesis. Let's be real for a second. If attraction was only about capacity, we'd all just be going after the most conventionally attractive, successful, charismatic people on the planet. But we don't, do we? So what's stopping us? Well, it's all about how we balance the two sides of that equation. See, when we're thinking about who to approach, we're kind of running two different scenarios in our head.
The idealistic choice, that's our fantasy pick. It's based only on the other person's amazing capacity. But the realistic choice, that's where we live our actual lives. We instinctively weigh how desirable they are against our guess of how willing they'll be to accept us. And here is the crucial trade-off we're all making, probably without even realizing it. We have this deep-seated assumption that as someone's capacity goes way, way up, their willingness to connect with us goes way, way down. It's really just a fear of rejection. So that calculation leads us to go for people who we see as a match for us, because we figure there's a better chance they'll be willing.
So, we're all walking around with this internal calculator that can sometimes hold us back. What does this actually mean for us? If we know attraction is the stance between capacity and willingness, how can we use that to build better, more authentic connections in our own lives?
The researcher Brené Brown just nails it here. Look, we spend so much of our lives trying to boost our capacity, right? We go to the gym, we work for a promotion, we try to be funnier, and that's all great stuff. But we often forget that the real magic, the actual spark of connection, happens when we show our willingness. And showing willingness, well, that requires vulnerability. It takes real courage to put yourself out there.
And I have to be really clear about this next point. Understanding this science is not about learning tricks to manipulate people. There's a huge difference between influence and manipulation. Influence is about creating a win-win. Manipulation is about using psychology to get what you want at someone else's expense. This knowledge is a tool for building genuine bonds, not for playing games.
So here's the bottom line. If you really want to apply this, the path is pretty clear. First, yeah, work on your capacity, but make it your authentic capacity. Figure out what makes you uniquely you, your values, your skills, your passions. And second, find the courage to signal your willingness to connect. That combo, that's the real formula.
And that leaves us with one last question I want you to really think about. Forget about the obvious stuff for a second. What is the most valuable, most unique treasure that you have to offer another person? Is it your sense of humor, your loyalty, your empathy? Because knowing what's in your own treasure chest, that's the first step to finding the courage to offer someone the key.